So welcome to the webinar, and the title of the webinar is 3 Reasons Diets Fail. So thank you very much for joining me on this nutrition talk. So I'm Tony Wynyard from Habits and Health, and I want to share with you the reason why, or 3 reasons why diets often fail. And it's to help you kind of change the narrative to feel more confident in your own skin. So I'm going to take you through a series of slides. And I believe something as fundamental as nutrition, it shouldn't be complicated. It often is complicated, but it shouldn't be. And so I want to help you build a strong nutrition foundation so that you can meet those short and long-term goals to feel the way that you deserve. So let's dive into the top 3 reasons why diets may have failed you in the past, if that is the case for you. So reason number 1 is usually diets are just way too restrictive. So the weight loss market is now worth a record $71 billion as of 2020. So it's a huge market. This industry, it very purposely targets our emotions, our insecurities, and our kind of microwave society tendencies. We want to look a certain way right now. Because of this, they're able to market things like low carb, low fat, no sugar, or in other words, no fun. And these diet trends promise that you can lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And we've all seen these claims on various magazines and so on. And there is so much information out there that gets people confused. And they try these more drastic and restrictive diets that ultimately lead to losing weight fast, but then they regain it all back as they end up binging on all the foods that they were trying to restrict in the first place. And this is a very common cycle, and largely the reason that these diets don't work and they're not sustainable long-term is because they don't lead to a healthier, happier, more balanced life, which is what you need for something long-term. You can do that for a very short term, but not for long term, not most people anyway. And you get what's known as the binge eating cycle. So there's been many studies on these diets, and the vast majority of us, they find it is setting people up for failure. So there was a study by the National Institutes of Health regarding restricting sugar from the diet. And it states in this study that many people try to lose weight by periodically forbidding themselves from eating certain foods. But depriving yourself of tasty food can backfire. It can activate the brain's stress system, causing anxiety and withdrawal-like symptoms, and leading you to overeat the forbidden foods when you get a chance. So in other words, it's the kind of well-known restrict binge cycle. So at the end of the day, the more restrictive diets are not working on building a healthy and sustainable kind of way of living, a way of eating. They're really just causing you stress and anxiety until you break, which leads to binging. And this is why 80% of those who lose weight will gain it right back. An easy solution is to first choose whole food options with good proteins, healthy fats, carbs, yes, carbs, they're not bad, and veggies. And bringing some mindfulness into it as well. So I encourage you to find a more mindful balance with the treats that you eat, because most people will have treats between meals. So rather than going all week refraining from any little treats, which leads to a kind of Sunday fun day mentality where you just go crazy. So rather than doing that, consuming on the weekends and just overeating and binging, whatever, find a mindset where you can have those treats throughout the week. So you're not sort of stopping yourself from having those things, but in a mindful portion size. So you'll try maybe not to eat as much of it. And not only will this help you stay away from feeling anxiety and stop you from binging, but it will also help you create a more positive relationship with your body and your food. So listen to those hunger and fullness cues. And having a nutrition coach is a really good way to help you find the balance that works for you. So reason number 2 is inconsistency. So we've all probably heard of the 80-20 rule. I would imagine everyone on this call has heard of that. And not only have most of us heard of it, but the majority of us actively practice it. And if you haven't heard of it, imagine being perfect with your diet from Monday right through to Friday afternoon. And then the weekend comes and you just unleash the hungry, hungry caterpillar. And it's pizza, beer, ice cream over the weekend, and you just go crazy over the weekend. So this rule is so appealing because it allows you to remain inconsistent with your habits. And that's why this is the second reason why diets often fail. A study published back in 2017 on PubMed suggests that while there is still a lot of debate regarding the optimal weight loss diet, evidence suggests that adherence to a diet, regardless of what type of diet it is an important factor in finding success. So in other words, reason number 1, highly restrictive diets, is leading to reason number 2, consistency. Now, there's a study by a company called Danzana, reports a strong association between self-reported adherence on a scale of 1 to 10 and weight loss after following 4 different types of diets. Similarly, the A to Z weight loss study found that dietary adherence scores were significantly correlated with weight loss at 12 months when looking at 3 different diets. And I'll explain what that means. So in other words, adherence is strongly associated with weight loss success over the short and the long term. So knowing this, the solution to this problem becomes clear. You should be finding the right balance path for you that you can stick with no matter what the situation you are in. So you start with only one thing at a time, and then you slowly add the next habit until you have created a plan that you can stick to long term. If you try to change everything at the same time, generally that doesn't work for most people. You have to have an extremely strong will to try to change a lot of habits at the same time. So if you start off by changing one habit, and once that's working for you, then you move on to the next one and so on. And aiming for long-term success rather than trying to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Rarely does that work for anyone. People do lose the 30 pounds in 30 days, then it comes back on. So if you go for a much longer term approach, not only is it healthier for you, but it's more likely to work in the long term. So this incorporates that whole foods approach. So it's with a mindful balance of treats as well. So it's not thinking I can never eat treats or I can only eat them at the weekend or whatever it is. Try to have a more kind of mindful approach to this. So reason number 3 is most people, it's because they're doing it alone, and that often doesn't work. Wanting to lose weight or change your body in any way, along with starting a fitness routine or a different eating pattern, it's very emotional and intimate. And oftentimes this leads to us starting our journey without ever sharing with our friends and family due to the fear of failure. We don't like telling people something and then because we might fail. So this leads us to reason number 3 why people's diet fails is because they try to do it alone. So while this journey can and should be simple, it's not easy. Our emotions, stress levels, energy levels, relationships, and so much more directly relate to our consumption. I mean, have you ever felt so stressed that you started to crave comfort foods? Well, of course, that's completely normal. Everyone has felt that. So when things feel hard, it's very easy for that negative self-talk to start happening up here, and we just start telling ourselves all these negative things, which often leads to people throwing in a towel and just giving up. So we can't always have that little voice in the back of our head, the positive voice in the back of our head telling us to keep it up. So this is why you should share your journey with your inner circle and find someone who will be there with you in a judgment-free zone to remind you of the bright spots, to remind you of what you're doing really well, no matter how small they may be. Because the more you've got someone on your side, the more likely you're going to succeed and you're going to stick with it as well. So this is the solution to the third reason your diet fails. Don't do this alone. My study found that those who enrolled in a weight loss program with friends did a much better job at keeping their weight off. And in addition to teaming up with friends, these participants were giving each other social support. So in addition to the standard treatment, 2/3 of those with support kept the weight off 6 months later, while only 1/4 of those without any support managed to find the same success. So tell your friends and family what your goals are, and more importantly, why they are important to you. Further, if you have a nutrition coach there to support you and to keep you accountable, this is shown to not only help start the journey, but to keep you strong for long-term success as well. So as we can see, the restrictive diets marketed to the public, the inconsistency they cause, the lack of support, they're the reasons that diets are failing the majority of people. So this time, if you decide to go on a diet, feel empowered to change the narrative from, that most people take when they do this, and find results that you've been looking for. Get yourself a nutrition coach, that will really help you, and ask your inner circle for support, and find a balance and a sustainable plan that you can stick to. But change your habits slowly. Don't try and change everything at once, because that often doesn't lead to success. So that is I was anticipating more questions, but this is the kind of like the test section of this webinar. It's the first one I've actually done live, so I just wanted to kind of test things out. So it's a shorter one than they're going to be in the future. But thanks for joining me for this nutrition talk. If anyone does have any questions, I'm going to take some questions now. But just to let you know that starting in a couple of weeks' time, on Tuesday, April the 6th, I begin a new 5-week program. And during these 5 weeks, on week 1, there's going to be a group of around about 8-10 people, something along those lines. And week 1, we really drill down into habits, and how can you create habits that will really work for you and that will become automatic, so that you don't have to consciously think about it. You just do something on a subconscious basis. So that's week 1, really finding out what are the ways that you can make habits work for you. Week 2, we go into sleep, and we start looking at good sleep habits and what sleep habits can you create that will give you a better sleep, because sleep is the foundation of our health. Nutrition is important, and movement, exercise is important, and so on. But sleep is the foundation. If you get good sleep, it helps all of the other things. So that's week 2. Week 3, we go into breathing. And breathing is the week that really surprises most people, because this can have a monumental impact when you get this right, when you improve your breathing. And most people think, oh, I breathe fine. I breathe every day, every hour, every minute. And yeah, of course we do. But there are ways of breathing, and you can actually breathe in a way that relaxes you, that is much better for your, for your blood circulation, for your oxygen circulation within you, and so on. So we dig into that in week 3, and we find out what kind of habits you can take on board to improve your breathing. And obviously this is going to also be really good for people with respiratory conditions such as asthma and so on. Week 3, we really dive down into nutrition and looking about how ways that we can maybe make some tweaks to the way that we're eating, types of things that we're eating, to get better results. And this isn't just about losing weight. This is about getting better energy and feeling good, and so on. And the same thing for week 1 and 2 and 3 with the sleep and the breathing and so on. And in week 5, we kind of wrap it all up. We look at movement and mindset. And mindset is so important in all of this. And in some ways, maybe that should be week 1. But in many ways, week 1, we do look at mindset, because habits and mindset are so closely interlinked. So that's a 5-week program. The next one starts on Tuesday, April the 6th. If you're interested, please do let me know. For those of you that are registered for the webinar, I'm going to send you the link for this video tomorrow, and there'll be some information about the 5-week program there as well. And so I don't know if there are any questions. If not, then I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and I'll be back for another webinar. It's going to be on the the 3rd Wednesday of every month. So the next one will be around about the middle of April, but I'll be posting that on social media. So thank you. And let me stop the video now.